Hey everybody, I just wanted to put together a quick video on OKRs and specifically how to plan your OKRs. If you're like me, you're looking at the end of the quarter and you're trying to figure out what progress you've made on your OKRs and you're realizing that you haven't made much progress at all. And for me, the reason why I haven't made much progress is just because other things have become a priority, have taken over, and I just really haven't had time to get my OKRs done. But the thing here is that if you don't have time to work on other projects, what becomes really impossible is to start those projects without a plan. So it'll always be really difficult to start. So in this video, we're just going to go over some basics on how to get started on a big project. And the secret here is to break it down into smaller, manageable pieces. So creating a plan is just the process of figuring out where you are now, where you want to be, and what you have at your disposal, right? And then you're really just charting a course between here and there. Developing a successful plan requires you to visualize the endpoint. So you want to be able to see in your mind what that end state will look like. Some people like to draw stuff, some people like to plan that out, but really try to visualize, okay, well, what is it that I'm working toward and what's this going to physically look like? What's the paper going to look like, or what's the website going to look like, or what are the videos going to look like? The next thing you need to do is figure out, okay, well, where are you today? If you are working nonstop and you're overworked and you're putting in overtime, you're not going to be able to record any videos. So understanding where you are today is really important for you to determine how to build that plan. Step one might be to free up your time to talk to your leader about how you can reduce some of your other work to make room for your OKRs. The next thing is to figure out your mile markers, right? What are the pit stops or rest stops or places where you're going to celebrate your success on your path from here to there? And lastly, you want to prioritize. There's going to be 100 steps between here and there, and you don't necessarily have to go in order of how they pop into your mind. There might be a better order, so reorganizing things and prioritizing things is really important. I follow a really basic planning cycle, which I call 3-4-5. And really what it is 3 months, 4 deliverables in 5 days. What am I going to do in 3 months? I like splitting things out into 3-month projects just because then you have kind of that quarterly cycle, right, that we were talking about in the past. I like to figure out my 4 deliverables, minimum of 4 deliverables. What are, again, those things that you are going to have to send to your manager or present out to the public or share with somebody, something like, an email, a document, a proposal, something tangible that you can look at and assess. And then looking at the next 5 days, like, where am I going to start? How can I hold myself accountable and start building up that momentum just within this first week? So what can I do in this first week? A recap on OKRs. So the objective is the destination, right? Your objective that you've set should be the beginning of painting that clear picture. So when you're thinking about your end goal, look at your objective and again, try to visualize what that will look like. Your key results, it's easy to look at your key results and assume that that is the plan. That if my key result is to do 5 of something, then my plan is to do the first one, the second one, then the third one. That's one plan, but that's not necessarily the best approach. There's another approach, and I'm hoping that through this video we can talk about that. So reframing those key results away from kind of what your plan is, more on how you're going to measure your progress toward that objective. So here's one of my OKRs. We're talking about digital knowledge transfer and just laying the foundation for people to learn new skills or to become more tech savvy and things like that. Really, we're talking about updating and changing Confluence, hosting some lunch and learns, and implementing a new framework for staff. So that's one of my OKRs, and that seems like a lot. It seems like a huge amount of stuff, right? So no wonder I haven't made any progress on this, because it's like, well, where do you start with all of this? So let's start with the first one. I want staff to be able to find answers to their questions on Confluence in 5 clicks or less. So Confluence is our internal wiki. I want it organized such that it's really easy for people to use. And so the end state, well, that means that we need to have a really organized and intuitive Confluence site. And where am I starting? Well, I'm not starting from scratch. There's lots of really good content on Confluence. It's just maybe poorly organized, and it could be organized better. So let's talk about my action plan. Well, I need to figure out what people want, what's important to them. I need to organize Confluence. I need to figure out how I'm going to measure this. That's a big piece. And then my end state is going to be relaunching Confluence. So my kind of 5-4-3 or 3-4-5 type of approach here is going to be, well, where do I start? In the next 5 days, I can develop a quick survey for staff. Just do a quick pulse and say, okay, well, what are the things that are important to you? How could we make this better? Right? That's something small that I can build momentum up with. Some milestones, again, between now and here and there. I need to figure out, okay, well, what are those categories or pages that are really important, that people really want to see, and how do I make those kind of easier to access? I need to come up with a plan for how am I going to organize there's spaces and there's pages and there's category, how am I actually going to do the physical reorganization, because that's a whole bunch of work as well. Lastly, once I have that plan for organizing, I know what people want, then I need to actually redesign that hierarchy in the homepage. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch it to a test group of people up front so that I can get some feedback, right? So over the course of those 3 months, and once I've kind of knocked down those 4 milestones, I should be able to relaunch Confluence to staff and start tracking to see whether or not usage has gone up, and whether or not people are finding their answers in a faster, easier way. Moving on to some of my other key results, I have the innovation lunch and learns. Okay, well, where do I start? I need to build a curriculum. What are those 5 videos or lunch and learns going to cover? And what are the objectives, right? The learning objectives. Over the course of the next 3 months, I need to, create a schedule and plan these and send them out and collect attendance. I need to do the first one. You got to start somewhere. So start with that first one. And once I've done that first one, I should collect some feedback and look and reflect at how things went so that I can build on that and improve for the remaining lunch and learns. And at the end of that 3 months, what am I going to do? Well, I'll take those lunch and learns that I've run, I'll record them, and I'll actually make them available in Confluence. So that's kind of my end state. Heading into the last one is that change management framework deployed. So again, huge task. Where do we start? Well, in the next 5 days, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some online research, right? Put some ideas together on what are the best practices, what are the big things. That's where I need to start. With something like this, it's really big and hairy, and I don't really know a ton about it. So first I need to learn about it. Between here and there, well, this is going to be something that's going to impact every single department. So I need to put a business case together to make that pitch to the rest of the executive to say, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. Is this okay with you? Once I've done that, put some tools together, prototype it so that people can actually see it. Right? It's one thing to look at a piece of paper and say, yeah, this is great, but I need to show people what it's actually going to look like when it's in production. Once I've done that prototype and I've collected some feedback, well, then I need to actually do the finished product, put it all together, and after that, then I need to communicate it out and launch it to staff. So once I've done kind of all of those 4 milestones, over the next 3 months, well, we should have a new, easy change management process that can be used by all of the departments. So again, quick recap. What is planning? Well, planning is figuring out how to get from where you are to where you're going with the tools that you have, and charting that course and creating that path for you to follow. Recognizing that your plan up front isn't going to be necessarily obvious, and it's not going to be perfect. There are all sorts of things that assumptions that you're going to make creating your plan that you'll realize were completely false, and you're going to have to retweak your plan. But a plan is still really important. Two quotes come to mind. There's the Mike Tyson quote that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And then there's another quote, I can't remember who it is, but it's failing to plan is planning to fail, right? So you need to do both. You need to have a plan, but you need to also recognize that it's not going to be perfect. How I plan, well, I do this kind of 3, 4, 5. You don't have to do it in order. You can bounce back and forth, but what am I going to accomplish in 3 months? What are the 4 main milestones or deliverables between here and there? And what can I do in the first week to build up that momentum? Just a little bit of an extra tip, something for those that have stuck around this long. One thing that I really like to start with, and like my absolute first step when I'm taking on a really big project, especially if there's a lot of like unknowns there, is I will actually do what I call just a quick first draft. And I mean quick, really, really quick. And this is a really good way of learning to iterate, right? Is doing something, putting it out there, learning from it, and building on it really quickly. So I set a timer for 10 minutes, legit 10 minutes, nothing more. I get all of my ideas on paper. I edit it and break it down so it's just super simple, right? Like just bullet points and high-level ideas organized so that it makes sense to somebody walking into it for the first time. You want it to be easy to read. It needs to be short and sweet and succinct. And once you have that, then I just send it out to my leader or to my team or whoever who has who's somebody who's going to have a say on the finished product. And only spending 10 minutes on something, you might be like, well, I haven't thought this out enough. I haven't mulled over it. There are a lot of people that they like to think and reflect and kind of ruminate on their thoughts. And it's like, no. You send it out with the caveat, I've only put 10 minutes into this. I want you to tear it apart. I haven't thought this through yet. Please just look it over and provide some feedback. And what this does is, it's a really simple way to get started, right? Like 10 minutes. Just, I'm going to put 10 minutes into this project. But on top of that, it gives you that openness because you've only put 10 minutes into it. Your leader or whoever's giving you feedback, they're going to be more honest with you. It's really hard to tell somebody, hey, you're way off base if they've put 3 hours into a 20-page document. But if somebody sends me 10 bullet points, I'm just going to be super honest. No, I disagree here. I would do it this way. And we can have that conversation, right? So it gives you that really valuable and deep feedback and makes sure that you're starting from that same place. You've only put 10 minutes in before you actually get some really good, honest feedback. And then from there, it just builds that momentum, right? Now you've worked on something, you've sent out an email, you've received some feedback, maybe you've had a conversation on this now, and that's how these projects get rolling, is just by building up momentum over time. So that's the quick first draft. That can be your one thing. That could be your, in the 5-4-3 model, that could be your starting point, what you're going to do in the next 5 days. And I hope that you found this helpful. And if you have found this helpful, I can do more videos like this just to record them and share them out. So send me any questions you have about your OKRs and managing those extra projects, and I'd be happy to answer those in a video format. Thanks for watching.